today was my first visit. Going into this visit, I was a little nervous due to the fact that I knew nothing about my mentor teacher. Also, it is a little awkward going into someone else's classroom. Upon my arrival, I was greeted by the incredibly helpful ladies in the office and made my way to Miss Gilly's room. When I arrived at her room, I took a minute to compose my nerves because I've learned that it's hard to hide any feelings from kids. I walked in and was thrilled to see all the friendly faces. It took about an hour until Miss Gilly could finally introduce herself, but once she did, we got to know each other and, I began moving around the classroom and I actually left with a sense of peace. The students participated in stations. These stations included things like AR, Picture Finds, Prodigy, which is like an online educational game site, and coloring. This is also where Miss Gilly pulled small groups back that were struggling or failed to complete assignments. Miss Gilly placed me with the students at the AR stations and had them read aloud to me. The student I had that was reading was very shy and very quiet, probably because I hadn't built any rapport with him whatsoever. But I took this as an opportunity to model how to be a good listener when someone else is reading, like laughing and nodding my head and asking questions as he read. By the end of the book, I had built a pretty solid relationship with the student. One down and a bunch to go. Now visit number 2. Going into this visit, I was actually super excited because last week went so good. I made a personal goal that included getting to know more of the students and trying to see if I could witness any of Miss Gilly's transitions. When I got there, the students were doing their science portion, so they were in their STEAM classroom. So I was observing another teacher today. They were watching a video on rainbow fish and getting to do arts and crafts. And let me just tell you, it was a complete disaster. There was 6 stations and people were throwing stuff across the room, there was no management happening whatsoever. There was screaming, there was yelling, and the teacher that I was observing was sitting back at her desk on her phone. So I took this opportunity to go to the lights and turn them off like Miss Gilly had done last visit, and the room quieted down. And after turning off the lights, the class got quiet, and I then reminded them that they needed to stay at their station until we said to switch, and then that there were other classes around us trying to learn. It was a very risky move, taking over someone else's classroom, but in doing so, I got the opportunity to walk around and to build more rapports with students, and I did kind of leave with my head held high, knowing that, wow, I just kind of managed a classroom. It was pretty awesome. After last week's visit, I was a little nervous to go back because I was afraid that I had overstepped maybe a little bit by kind of taking over that other teacher's class. But I went into Miss Gilly's room with confidence, and right when I walked in, I was greeted with Miss Carlock, we missed you, we're so glad you're back, and that completely just took my nervousness away. Miss Gilly didn't even say anything about last week. But during this visit, Miss Gilly taught a lesson. She opened the lesson with a brief summary of the book they had just read together, and then took questions about it. After this, they did a graphic organizer together, which was great because she has some sped in there that need more than just oral explanation. They wrote the title, the author, the character, the moral, and their favorite part. And then afterwards, they got to draw and color a picture in the middle. Was that the SPED teacher was in there. Miss Gilly has 4 SPED kids in her class, and so I got to see how the lesson was modified for them using, graphic organizers and giving them a little bit more time and a little bit more help at her back table to group them. I did get to work with one of the SPED students who was, I want to say, on the lower spectrum to autism spectrum, but they gave me pointers and questions I could ask him to enhance his critical thinking and get him thinking on his own rather than me doing the work for him. So much helpful knowledge that I couldn't wait to use it on this visit. I'd set some personal goals. I wanted to promote more critical thinking among the students, and I wanted to again try to see Miss Gilley's transitions. I think Miss Gilley is awesome, and she allows me to figure things out as a future educator. Walking into her classroom this visit, I got greeted and got to have a good conversation with Miss Gilley before the day started, and me and Miss Gilley have very meshable personalities, which was awesome. The students were in stations for my visit again today, so again I was with some students for AR for a little bit. That being said, I wanted to go ahead and try something different this visit. After I had began reading with my student, I finished up with him, and then I decided to go check out what Prodigy was. They were doing it on the smart board, so I was just going to go facilitate it a little bit. What I learned from this, it was a math game, was that some students just need to be motivated a little differently. Losing really isn't a motivation to them, or winning. They don't really care about winning either. So it was a great learning experience, but I could really tell which kids were aesthetic and which kids, didn't really care about games. It was a very big eye-opener for me. Going into this next visit, we were again at stations. I was again with someone who was in the AR station, and this happened to be a SPED student who kind of had a rough upbringing in life, and I had not yet built a rapport with him yet. I decided to build off the fact that he loved Spider-Man, and so we started reading and asked some questions. I didn't really see much of Miss Gilley this visit or get to observe her too much. She didn't really teach a lesson. She was in and out of the classroom a lot, getting stuff ready for, I think, testing, which was the next week. And really, I just focused on building a good rapport with the student that I did have and showed him how to read with prosody. Visit, I got to witness Miss Gilley's version of a read aloud, which was really awesome. This is how she opened her lesson today. After this, she modeled how to respond to a text as you're reading it by, laughing or, maybe acting sad while you read it if there was a sad part. After this, the students took an extremely hard test that Miss Gilley would not have administered to them unless the third grade teachers didn't ask for it. She said that she was not going to do anything with these results because she knew that it was way too hard for her students. Some of the things I never really saw in Miss Gilley's classroom was if there was any collaborative planning with her and her team teacher. I never saw the lesson accurately being closed. It always just moved straight on to the assignment, or they just packed up and left. Miss Gilley never checked for understanding during the lesson. She waited until the students had completed the assignment, and then she checked the assignment and then sent it back if it wasn't right. I never saw her guiding or focus questions for the lessons, not even in a lesson plan that she showed me, and then I never saw any of the lesson objectives. Things that I might have seen once in the classroom, most of the assessments were only AR. I witness one assessment in which Miss Gilly gave because she was instructed to by the third grade teachers, so she didn't do anything with that data because she knew the testing was going to be too hard. They did informal assessments, I guess you'd call them, where they had to write on a sticky note and put it on the board. But Miss Gilly didn't do anything with these sticky notes. I just to see how much they could write on their own with a prompt. She really just read all of them off the board and then just threw them away. The only data taken from assessments when I was there was from AR, and this was really just to see how they were doing at their level and if they needed to read any more genres. They were only sticking with one genre, so. Miss Gilly had outstanding classroom management skills. I think she maybe had to get onto her class 1 or 2 times in all the time that I was there, and that was for being too loud. One of her classroom management tools that I really didn't like was that the students could get up and sharpen pencils whenever they wanted to. So of course, one got up and then, one else needed to go, and then, so I probably wouldn't take that into my classroom. The students were not allowed to touch the markers, which I really liked because Miss Gilly said that her dry erase markers typically last the entire school year, which is crazy. The students were seated in groups, and each group was seated with a low, a high, a middle, and a behavior problem student, and this helped even out the room. Also, no one talked while Miss Gilly was teaching her lesson, and they could ask questions by raising their hand, but no one else but her was talking. What I didn't really like was that the lights go off, and everyone has to be quiet, because I probably wouldn't have noticed that if I was a student. I would have just kept talking. If you have to be told something more than 2 times, you'll have to do laps at recess instead of recess, which is very sad. They didn't really like that. And this is actually my favorite one, and there was a 10-minute snack that was taken because, of course, hungry kids can't learn. This was a super amazing opportunity to get to work with Miss Gilly and see how she taught in her classroom. I do wish I could have seen her teach more lessons and seen more of the behind the scenes of her lesson planning. And also, I wish she would have incorporated more movement into her lesson plans, because a bunch of the time, sometimes even students would fall asleep, but it was just a great opportunity, and I was to all the students, and it was really sad on my last day. They made me all these letters, which I will put a picture of in here, and I just learned so much that I'm going to take into my classroom, like how I'm going to use my assessments and